So there are just a few months to go until the world's biggest, longest-running classical musical festival takes place. It's called, of course, the BBC Proms.
So this year's lineup includes pop star Sam Smith, who will rub shoulders with Beethoven and Bach. The indie rock singer Florence Welsh will make her debut as well.
There's also going to be the first-ever disco prom and a brand new Doctor Who prom. Something for everyone, you'd hope. We're going to talk to Katie Derham in a moment, who'll be hosting the proms. First, though, let's take a look at some of the stand-up moments from last year.
There we are. Tapping her knee to the music is Katie Derham.
There we go. It's all kicking off, guys.
There you go.
It's that time of year.
Welcome.
Hello.
So, should we deal with some of the, do we say controversy around this? People suggesting, you know, why? Why Sam Smith at the proms? Because turn the clock back, I don't know, 10, 20 years, pick a moment, and that would have been a different occasion.
I mean, we'll turn the clock back 120 years, and the whole idea of the proms was to bring the best music to as many people for the least money as possible, and that's absolutely still what the proms does. Every year, you know, every year we have what? I mean, this year, 90 concerts. It's always 2 months of world-class music making at the Royal Albert Hall and beyond. And every year, it's in the majority core classical music in all its glorious variety, but it does have jazz, it does have world music, it does have folk, and it also has some of these really interesting collaborations. You know, in the past, we've had David Bowie prom, we've had all sorts of amazing... Last year, the Northern Soul prom. Do you remember that? That was amazing, the first weekend of the proms last year. Absolutely spectacular. So this isn't actually anything new at all. And what we've got with these two... Actually, we've got two amazing, very famous sort of pop artists. We've got Florence Welsh from Florence and the Machine, and we've got Sam Smith. They're both giving their own prom with orchestral arrangements of their debut albums. I mean, it's going to be epic. They're both fantastic musicians, and we're going to hear them with orchestras, and that's the point. So it's an entry point. It's a different way of getting people into concert halls to hear orchestral music, and I think it's going to be amazing.
It is a really interesting entry point, because, and I think that's a really good way of putting it, it's like when you go and watch classic films with a live orchestra.
Yes.
Do you know, like, so some people go, I don't want to go and see a live orchestra. It sounds really boring. It's all Bach and Beethoven and Mozart and all, you know, two...
All my favourites, anyway.
All wonderful. But for people who kind of are scared of classical music, when you see it performed in an orchestra with a film or something you like, and with artists whose work you're familiar with, it makes it so much more accessible.
Absolutely. You know, you have that wonderful live music experience as well of sharing that with a big audience, which is something that's very difficult to replicate. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we do our best on Radio 3 with the proms and on the television coverage and so on as well, but if you can actually be there in the flesh, it is amazing, isn't it?
But also, they get, I think, the artists almost are bigger with an orchestra behind them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying they don't put 100% into every performance, but when there's an orchestra, it almost adds to the cachet of it.
It's pretty it's pretty serious at that point, isn't it? And they do love it. And you hear this from the performers all the time, not just about performing with the orchestra, but also, I think there's something very special about the proms audience as well, because you've got literally 1,000 people standing in front of you really closely, which, especially in the classical tradition, is less usual. You know, we don't have that many mosh pits in classical, you know. And so to have that kind of really engaged, really focused audience in a beautiful venue like the Royal Albert Hall is really special for the orchestral and solo musicians, and it really does carry across, I think. But I should actually say, this year more than many, it's not just at the Albert Hall. The proms is out there around the country. It's something we've started doing a bit more in the last few years. Gateshead, big weekend residency at the Glass House. The newly renovated Beacon in Bristol, it's got a residency, and in Nottingham as well.
So how does that work?
Well, basically, it's the same sort of concerts, but in different venues, so that if you can't get down to London to experience the Proms at the Royal Albert Hall, you've got a chance of seeing it around the country. So if you get the programme, which is launched today. Go online, see what you can find. You'll see that at various weekends through the season, which is from mid-July through to mid-September, there will be these residencies in different cities.
17 different regions outside of London, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it's a wonderful development. It's been going down really well, actually. I mean, I don't think you can ever knock the glorious atmosphere of the Royal Albert Hall. I mean, it is phenomenal, but it's wonderful to have that calibre of music going around the country.
There are a lot of people who will have never heard an orchestra live. If you were trying to encapsulate that moment, and, you know, maybe through television, that's how people can get that moment. In the room, in the Royal Albert Hall, and you hear I don't know, what's the first... You hear them warming up a little bit, traditionally, don't you?
The tuning.
The tuning.
Yeah.
You give people a sense of that.
Well, I think there is that... I want to say it's electric, but that is, of course, they're not. They're acoustic. But no, there is a sort of a wonderful... It sounds very cliche, but there's a really special energy, I think. On the music which you love, it might remind you of places you've been, it might remind you of a film that you've seen which you really loved when you were a kid, whatever it might be. I mean, this year we've got the Doctor Who prom, for example. You know, that experience of seeing something that you've loved on telly, maybe you used to hide behind the sofa as a kid, and with the, you know, the themes coming through the Daleks, and suddenly hearing the music live. As you say, to see all those musicians playing live to such a high standard, all at the same time. There really is something, the vibrations in the air are very, very special, I think.
I think it's quite wonderful watching an orchestra when you see how all eyes are on the conductor. You've got this maestro at the front, but also you see them enjoying each other's sections, and you see them getting excited. You see when they're playing something that's really popular, that they know is going to get the crowd going. You see their enthusiasm as well, and you see them moving to the music, which you can't see when you're only hearing it. So it is really special to see an orchestra. It's quite a privilege.
Yes. No, and it is. There's that sort of, as I say, it's like seeing an amazing... It's like when you see a flock of starlings, you know? It's that gorgeous, coordinated, synchronised, as you say, movement and sense of purpose and unified intention as well. I think it is glorious. And, yeah, here we are. You know, we've got 90 concerts in order to experience that.
And we all love a conductor, don't we?
We do.
They're big characters. You must have met plenty.
I've even had a go at doing it myself over the years.
And how did that go?
Well, I think I'd probably pay money to see the others. I think the ones we're talking about this year, rather than the...
And are they kind of larger-than-life characters themselves?
A lot of them are. I mean, obviously, there's a sort of a bit of a myth about the maestro. Then, of course, maestros come in all shapes and sizes, but it is a very particular job. You know, you've got these 70, often in a full orchestra, 70 or 80 highly talented, highly opinionated musicians, and you've got to somehow convince them within a second of standing on the podium that this is the way you would like them to play this piece of music. It's quite the job, and I think, you know, we've got Sir Simon Rattle, we've got Daniel Barenboim, we've got Klaus Meckler, who's this amazing new Wunderkind conductor who's getting all the big gigs at the moment. There's a lot of amazing people going to be performing and conducting at the Proms this year. I mean, you know me, I could go on for hours talking about who's going to be there. But
well, you will be talking for hours.
Well, I will. Maybe not
today.
No,
but you will be, because you'll be taking us through it, won't you?
Yes, I will.
You've set it up very well.
Well, you're very kind.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charlie. Lovely to be here.
BBC Proms, Friday the 19th of July. You're on presumably all the way through.
I'm dipping in and out, radio and telly. Yes, me and my gang. Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Katie, thank you very much.